What's going on, everybody? It is Lane and Phil here with Mastercrafted, and we are back for another Mind Over Meta on Wednesday. And we're going to be talking about kind of what happened this last weekend. It was a little slower, being a holiday. So thankfully, we got a little more to talk about with some spicy new pre-orders that have been released and talked about that are going to be coming up. Phil, what are your thoughts? You know, some new Death Guard World Eaters on the way.
I was expecting the World Eaters to come out. I was not expecting the Death Guard. I thought they were going to space them out. I thought there was going to be some time in between and they'd make me wait a little longer. But nope, they are dropping both at the same time. I love that. If someone could release the Death Guard rules so that way myself and Lane and Matt could talk about all the new cool Death Guard things that are going to happen, that'd be awesome. So if you're holding on to them, you know, just send them our way. Send them to Mastercrafted. We'll talk about them all the time. I will say from both articles, they are pretty sparse in terms of the amount of information and very strangely worded. Up to this point, the leaks have been like almost dead on accurate. So for those that are freaking out one way or another, I would caution a little bit of hesitation because until I see it in writing, I have a hard time believing it one way or another. But as of now, the leaks have been almost spot on, Lane, for pretty much everything. So I hear that some people are thinking that it means Advance and Charge are still on the menu for a blessing, and then other people think the other way around. Just tells me that there's a lot of chaos going on right now, and for the year of chaos, that sounds about right. What about you, Lane? What do you think?
You know, I was psyched for all World Eaters players with, you know, the leaks we did see, even though a lot of people were very upset losing Advance and Charge. I would take 6-inch pylon and consolidate every day over that. If you, as players, get to keep your Advance and Charge, I will be a very happy Guard player. It is so much easier to screen you out and move block you when you don't have 6-inch pylon and consolidate. It's so much easier to space. I just don't care. I just don't care anymore. And I'm on the fence. Like, I want you guys to have cool stuff, but on the same time, I'm totally fine just being like, oh, it's World Eaters. I don't care. But that is, you know, that's coming from an entitled Bulgrin, you know, Guard player who just generally hasn't cared about World Eaters this whole edition. But, you know, we'll see where it lands. Either way, yeah. I think all the new detachments actually are really good and have some play. One thing I noticed from the article was that you only get to use in the Idols detachment each of those things once per battle instead of choose them at will. So you're only going to have one turn where all of your Jackals get a 4-up invuln, unfortunately. But that's still pretty dang good. I think you know, if you time it right, really that could be problematic. So yeah, we'll see where everything comes out once we have it in our hands. But it's always fun to kind of go over all these leaks and stuff and start trying to theory craft before, you know, we really, really know the meat and potatoes of it all.
Lane, are you concerned about Death Guard at all with this initial leak?
I am more concerned about Death Guard than World Eaters at the moment, but that's just me. The fact that all detachments are now going to get -1 to save, and I run a lot of 2-up save tanks, is generally problematic, and especially when there's a detachment that can just be like, you over there, how about, yep, that's a 3-up now. I don't love that. I think that's going to be a decently strong detachment, but you know, we'll see. We'll see where it ends up. Death Guard looks like they're going to be spicy. They are already a thing that not a lot of melee armies want to see, and melee armies are what are getting released this year. Like, Death Guard is literally just going to be like, you picked up World Eaters, cute. You decided to start playing the new Space Wolves, cute. Like, I don't know. I think Death Guard is going to be in a very, very strong freaking spot, man. Not looking forward to playing more of Matt and his Death Guard.
Matt and I already have it planned out. We have like multiple lists based off of the leaks that we've seen. It's like, how many Poxwalkers can I run? They come in sets of 10. Like, how many can I get on the board? Sounds like Plague Burst Crawlers could be good, especially if I can, like, I don't even have to move units to do the -1 save. I could be like, that unit is -1 save, and now my Plague Burst Crawlers could be -2. Maybe I have a stretch. Make it -3. So -3, 2 damage, D6 +3 blast plague burst crawlers. Sounds pretty good. So you are right. Death Guard, I'm already salivating at the chance. Matt and I are arguing over who gets to play him, but I do think he has a strong attachment to the new Emperor's Children. But then I'm like, I've been practicing my Custodes. I want to run my Custodes, but this team's tournament is going to be very interesting. And it sounds like these codexes are going to be out and legal before the team's tournament. So there is a possibility that Matt or I run them. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's been a big shakeup. I know we were like we're like, oh, like a week ago, we're like, okay, we might actually try to get World Eaters back in our lineup, and we already have a Death Guard player. And so we're like, well, damn, that is a great spot to be in. So, we're very excited on our team as well. Like, whew, man, it's going to be very interesting to see how quickly people can really try to figure out how those armies are really going to be best run in some of those detachments. And I think we're going to see a lot of cool stuff at teams coming up. So can't wait, man.
All right, let's get into this, Lane. We have some of your boys, some of your Astra Militarum brethren. We'll go over the tournaments that have happened this weekend. The first one was a Wet Coast GT up in Canada. Guard and Orcs War Horde both went 6-0. The Guard were Hammer of the Emperor.
Yeah.
And then the third place was
and
also
they took
Hammer
third
of
with
the
a
Emperor.
5-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah.
Happy
they can
with
do
that?
it. They can. Hey, Guard is still at least getting some wins. Like, at least there's some life in this faction still. I think Hammer does have a chance to run into bad matchups more than combined, but I think it's still very strong. And obviously it's showing, they X and ones are better, so can't complain. And we all know Orcs War Horde, that has just been sitting on a back burner waiting for others to get out of the spotlight. So, I think it's very strong on War Horde.
I mean, this was a 145 player tournament, so the largest of the weekend. But if we look at this X and 1, like the amount of armies that are X and 1, it's actually so diverse. So diverse. Armies that we have not seen in the X and 1 bracket in a while. Grey Knights, we've already seen them once, but Crusher Stampede, now we have seen come back up. Space Marines, obviously, but Black Templars going X and 1. Right? We just talked about how awful they were, and someone managed to pilot them to pretty good success. Votann, who have struggled significantly, found a way to X and 1. Imperial Knights, as we discussed, that has been a staple. They've been doing well. Votann going X and 1, like I just said. Eniad, no surprise there. But now Green Tide Orcs as well managed to go X and 1. We have a very good Green Tide player up in Denver, Joel, and he does exceptionally well. But obviously, for those that are freaking out, Orcs are still very, very good. But then Thousand Suns as well going X and 1, followed right by Space Marines. So that is a very diverse 16 X and 1 players, or X and O. That is a hugely diverse X and 1. What do you think on that, Lane? That stands out to me.
I think we're just, now that at least we have gotten rid of more DACA Orcs, generally things all have a chance again, right? Like, that's not being just spammed. It's not running over everybody. I think things are doing well. People are getting more used to Ynnari and all of their shenanigans. It's getting a little more figured out. Still think it's overtuned. Still think there's too many things to worry about. But in general, that is a great spread on a very large tournament, and that's what we like to see as GW is trying to balance things, is multiple things going X and 1, and it's showing. That's great. Love it.
All right, well, the next one up, Glasshammer over in England. Another big tournament, 99 players, 5 rounds, and it looks like they did have a shadow round for the final 2 to duke it out for the top 2 players. So ended up with Blood Angels winning it all, Liberator Assault Group. Who would have known? Space Marines are still good. Eniad up there again. CSM. John would be proud. And Votann also going X and 1. Chaos Demons. No surprises there. 2 World Leaders players playing Berserker Warband. Necrons also finding their way into X and 1. Drakari. Tau. Retaliation Cadre. Not even Auxiliary Cadre, which I think a little bit more. Some more CSM. Some more Knights. Chaos Knights. World Leaders. Drakari. And another Black Templars also going X and 1. Now, this was WTC scoring, but still very surprising that all of these armies are going X and 1. And once again, shows the health of 40k meta right now.
Yeah, it's good. We're seeing a couple more of the things that we missed the first time around. Drakari, Tau showing up. Like, that's great to see. We love to see that. Some of those things that have definitely been struggling lately, still able to do it. It's just tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to take the next one?
Yeah, GothCon 40K Open in Sweden also had some WTC scoring, 58 players, 6th round. Deathwatch taking the 5-0-1 win. Grey Knights at 5-1 in second, and Custodes running some Lions, getting that 3rd place, followed by Votann, and then Custodes with Lions of the Emperor again. Your boys are repping out over in Sweden, so Custodes coming to the top.
Yeah, that's not a surprise there. Those are all good detachments, all good armies. Grey Knights going 5-1 still surprises me, and Votann as well, but they do have mobility. The new detachment is good. This is a good top 5. But on to the next one, Dark Sphere, April 40k GT over in England. Guard, Mechanized. We have not seen Combined Arms yet. CSM Bile, Vanguard Space Marines, Custodes Talons, which is also a very good detachment. Custodes are kind of blessed for choice right now. Grey Knights, Eldari, no surprise, it's Inari. Imperial Knights, and then Death Watch again. Once again, no real surprises up there based on what we've been seeing, except for Guard Mechanized. Lane, we just said that it's either Combined Arms or it's Hammer. How did Mechanized find its way to a 5-0?
A very good and talented player, and probably a good win path. Not to like, I don't see it. I've looked at it and tried to find a way to be like, this seems like the choice. I still think you can make it work. This is obviously a good player. They went 5-0. You know, like man, I feel like it's just so much harder to do. But you know, they did it. Hats off to them. That's awesome. But there's a reason we're still not seeing a ton of them. You know, when we're talking about things that are going to do it a lot over time, this was the first Guard win with Mechanized, I think, since the book dropped, so that I'm aware of. So still, hats off. A great win. Can't complain.
Absolutely.
And then next, Nerd Bar Spring GT in South Carolina, 29 players, 5 rounds. Inari took a dub. They had to get at least one, right? They couldn't let a 0 win stand for a weekend, right? Blood Angels with Liberator Assault in second. Custodes with Lions again coming in third. And then some Firestorm Space Marines in fourth. Nothing real surprising there. Blood Angels, I think, are actually getting run a little less than they should be. Honestly, I think they're in a really good spot. And people just haven't been playing them as much, because when you can just take vanilla Marines with double oath or +1 to wound, it's pretty dang strong. But Blood Angels, I think, are still in a really good spot.
Yeah, I think they should be pleased now that Mordaka's out of the meta. They definitely didn't want to see them, I don't think. But Inari as a whole do not want to see Blood Angels, I don't think. They're just so aggressive and they're so fast. And they're running a lot of infantry. So it's like, I don't think necessarily that they want to see that. They don't want to be out mobilized. And Blood Angels can definitely do that to Inari. So next one, France. Now we see our first Combined Arms win for the Guard, going 5-0. The French showing us how it's done. Space Wolves, Rust being next, Tyranid Vanguards, Mordaka Orcs, still finding a way to X&1. No surprises there, as we discussed when they kind of got the points, not the points hit, the rules changes. They are still good. They are still just fine. And they're definitely more balanced in this meta than previously. And then, once again, Thousand Suns managing an X&1. So they are already finding their way into X&1s, which is a little scary for the detachment they're about, or the codex they're about to receive very, very soon. So, yeah, absolutely. And then our last one's Hellstorm's 40K series, very popular YouTuber. I love watching him. He's very engaging, and he's got a good attitude about 40K. So he put on his tournament series over there with 21 players. Tyranids winning it all with Invasion Fleet, Chaos Demons, Incursion Demons, so not Shadow Legion, Inari, more Lions, and then Siege Regiment Guard. So we have all the flavors of Guard finding a way to X&1. So they must be broken. That's the only explanation I can think of.
They're at least not the garbage everybody said they were. You know, last week everybody's like, Guard's on the way out. They're terrible. I mean, the overall on this weekend for Guard was 44%. We're still losing a bunch of games. But good pilots can take any of these detachments and do well with them. As a Guard player, it's just, you know, gotta find a way to do it.
Before we rip through these stats, because we did see a significant change this week, is there anything that stood out to you from all the results from this weekend, especially as we get ready for our tournament next week? Because Lane's coming down to Colorado Springs to get some games in, and we're gonna play in a nice little RTT. Super friendly, definitely not a snake pit down there. Very competitive players. But before we get our team tournament going, is there anything that stood out to you?
I thought actually one of the coolest things is people are already picking World Eaters back up, and they did pretty well this weekend. Actually, they were one of the highest overall win percentages of the weekend, and I think that's great. You know, I think the hype, they got the new book coming, everybody just took it, ran with it, played their hearts out, and did really well this weekend. I think that was awesome. And the other thing is, we've been talking about it since it dropped. Lions of the Emperor was showing up in almost every single one of these lists as an X&1. It is a confirmed, I think, meta menace now. It's the people have finally figured it out enough that they are running it that well. You know, we've been watching it slowly just get better and better, and I think it's reaching that point. Like, we knew the rules were there. It's figured out, I think, for the most part, and that's great. That's got to feel good for you, Phil. You know, validation in your own faction.
Believe it or not, it's good to see people enjoying a faction that I really like, and it's good to see that it's continually happening. So for me, overall, like seeing a faction do well that I love, right? Like that's pretty much cabinets full of Custodes right behind me, and it's nice to have. Now I will say, I also like the diversity in the meta, so it's not just Custodes like honestly dog walking everyone. It's a good mixture, and I don't even think, did they even get an event win? I don't even think they got an event win this weekend. They did not. They just had multiple.
They won anything, but they had
X and O's and X and ones, which are great, right? Like especially at the top level, going X and O, going X and one, something to be very proud of. Okay, let's get right into some percentages. You know what the name came out the most often? It was Grey Knights, and they have a good data set, right? We have 83 games played total. They have a 60% win rate. They have 3X and 1s, 9 players overall, and they did really well. All running Warpbane, obviously. No event wins, but they did incredibly well, which just shows like the health of the meta right now. And then followed by Thousand Suns with 59%, 2X and 0, 2X and 1s, only 4 players playing it, but still have some good data, 35 games with a 59% win rate. So yeah, pretty pleased there.
Yeah, they're doing pretty good. You know, we were just talking a couple weeks ago, like kind of as it started, both of those were towards the bottom, and now that more DACA is kind of out of the way, it seems their natural predators have gone aside, and they're rising to the top, doing really well the past 2 weeks. Followed up by Deathwatch, who as well was kind of in that same boat at a 58% win percentage. They had one event win and had 2 X and O or better, or X and 1 or betters. It's just great to see.
Yeah. Nope. Plenty of games played, plenty of players playing them. That should be pretty pleased there. World Leaders are next.
Yeah, it's a good time. You got it, man. Berserker Warband, you kick it.
Yeah, everyone's getting prepared for new World Leaders. So I think we're going to continually, as we said before, see an uptick in players, uptick in games. Everyone's going to be running this because I'll be honest, the new World Leaders look cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can put on the table. So I think a lot of people are going back to them, and we're going to see this number rise even more because that article came out literally, what was that, today, for all that information. So yeah, they're going to be on the uptick for sure.
Yep. Yeah. Followed by Tyranids doing well, still 56% overall. Vanguard only had 6 players, but had 3 X and 1s or X and O's and a 71% win percentage. Doing some work, doing pretty well. Crusher also not a ton of representation, only 2 players, but did get an X and 1 out of it. And Invasion Fleet got quite a few players, only had a 48%. Not super high, but it had 3 X and 1s as well and 1 win. So can't complain about that. 12 players, 28 wins. Great.
Yeah, solid. Absolutely. And we saw a huge jump from Votann up next. Everyone's been running Oathbound. Hearthband is just not as good. I get that. 3 X and O's, a 12-person player pool. Yeah, over 100 games played this weekend of Oathband. So Leagues of Votann, once again, finding a way into this meta that normally they'd be pushed out of by more DACA Orcs. And then now, someone made a comment in our video about how we called them insane for taking Drukhari. And I was like, well, Drukhari being insane, no surprises there. They're all a little screws loose, but Drukhari, once again, saw a big jump with now more DACA Orcs being gone, both Reaper's Wager and Real Space finding ways to X and O and X and 1, which was awesome. And then both having an above 55% win rate, with the only thing pulling them down was Sky Splinter, which didn't necessarily have a great outing this past weekend. But Drukhari jumped all of these factions, which is huge. Absolutely.
Yeah, people are hopping on the Cody train. I know you felt called out last week, but you know, Cody, you've been crushing them forever. We got to respect the fact that you didn't just hop to Yanari and have still been trying to, you know, pull up that Drukhari win rate. But oh man, it does take a brave man and a good player, and you know, you're one of them. So keep it up, Cody. Up next, we have the Custodes themselves. Phil's favored right now. Lions of the Emperor rocking that 60% win rate. 4 X and O's or X and 1s and 16 players. I mean, just great representation. We've already hit it before. Talons also had an X and 1 that was nice to see in there, but the rest of them were not over 50%. Lions is the way to go. Get on the train, everybody.
It is pretty good. But I will say there is play with Shield Host. There is play with Solar Spearhead. If you wanted to play both of those, Talons is still very, very good. Like I said, we are blessed for choice when it comes to very, very good detachments. Yeah. Space Wolves is next. Stormlance, Champions of Rust getting the 3 X and O's. But overall, 50% win rate, 51% for the army as a whole. Pretty solid, I would say, overall. I'm not necessarily displeased with any of it, and I like seeing Space Wolves in the meta. I don't want to experience Wolf Jail ever again, but everything else I'm okay with.
Yeah. Yep. And then we're going to move on to Orcs, and everybody start freaking out again. Mordaka came in at 80% on the win rate this week. So obviously things were not nerfed enough. We need to hit them with the hammer again. It is definitely not because one player took them and went 4-1. That is not the reason. It is because Mordaka is still too strong. We got to hit it again, put it in the ground. No, it obviously one player did great, proved that it still works. So if if you're upset, it's not as strong as it was, but it's not broken anymore, and it's fun to play. Your friends will still want to play you now. It's in a good spot. Go play Mordaka, or be like 12 other players who ran Warhorde and also got an event win and a couple X and ones. So, there's options. It's a good time to be an Orc.
Exactly. Orcs are in a very healthy position right now. All of the detachments I'd be happy with. Any of these detachments, Mordaka, Green Tide, Tactical, Warhorde, I'd be fine with any of those. I think they're all very good. Now, we're getting into the bottom side of 40K, because if you look, I don't think we said it at all. The next group up is AdMech, who had 0 X and O, X and 1s. I don't think we didn't say their name once, mainly because that was one player took them. They went 3-3, and unfortunately, they're in a tough spot right now. AdMech as a whole, they are price pointed so low, and they're still not able to be effective on the board outside of, I would say, probably teams, maybe, because I think there's some matchups that they're actually quite solid into. But overall, definitely struggling. Definitely need some help. That is rules help, not data sheet points change help.
Yeah, AdMech, hopefully you'll get a little love soon, but, probably some Year of Chaos things got to get out of the way. Hopefully in July, when we get that next big balance update, there's something for them, because they could definitely use it. Up next, though, we got Black Templars rocking their 4 whole players who were playing it, but that one person went 4-1 again. Same as Mordaka with their Gladius Task Force Templars, and then one Righteous Crusaders player out of the 3 was able to go X and 1 as well and help represent the faction. The people who are playing Black Templars are obviously looking to be more faction experts, it looks like right now, and are definitely running their army well, despite it not being some of the best Space Marines to put on the table. So yeah, good to see.
Yeah,
you can still do it.
You can, but we see a huge drop off here. Lane, Imperial Knights, they were meta dominant the past couple weeks, and now they do have 3 X and O, X and 1s, which is great, but out of the 17 players playing them, that's only 3, and they only have about a 51% win rate with Noble Lance, 50% overall. Definitely in a little bit of a tougher spot, but they are still very good, and you need to be cognizant of them in the meta, because they will be there, and that stat check, if you're not prepared for it, can ruin game plans.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely still very good. Got to watch out. That new tech with the Allied Sisters is very, very strong, and don't want to see them if I can help it. Yeah. Up next, though, we got Tau, and, as Phil has said, Oxcat is the way to go, and they prove it with the 73% win rate. There's not a ton of Tau players this weekend, with none of their detachments getting more than 3 people running it, but Oxcad came in with 73% on the wins, Retcad 64, Kalyan 47, Montka 40, and the new experimental only at 38, and it just beats out Crude Hunting Pack at 27%, with 2 players running Crude Hunting Pack this weekend. Those brave souls, good to see at least they're out there living their best Crude life.
Just run Auxiliary Cadre. It's just better. It's better Crude. You'll have more fun. I promise. It's just better. All right. We're going to put these next 4 in the same bracket, because honestly, I think they all kind of have the same issue, 2 and 2. So Dark Angels and Genestealer Cult, not a lot of players, not a lot of individuals running them, but definitely does not mean they're bad. Host of Ascension is very good, especially in the right player's hands. But the detachments as a whole, player performance is dropping. The number of players playing them is dropping. They're moving to other things, but they will always be there. Now, Chaos Demons and Eldari, they're tricking you. This is all mind games. The Eldari and the Chaos are playing tricks with your mind. This looks like Shadow Legion is kind of trash, and Plague Legion is bad, and Yunari, they're a standout, right? They have 5 X and O, X and 1s with an event win, but their detachment army as a whole, 60% win rate. They have a 46% win rate across all of Eldari. They must be trash. They're not. Do not be fooled by this. This is 1 week. They are still at the top in terms of if we, Lane and I, were to rank them on our Mastercrafted ranking, I think Ynnari would be still very firmly at the top of our rankings. Is that fair?
I mean, 18 players, they still had 5 X and 1s. It might be a little dip in how well they've been doing, but that's still solid. That's almost a third of the players. Like, we're still at like around 30% of players who are playing this going X and 1. So still pretty strong. Yeah. So yeah,
Shadow Legion that's why still really good.
Wasn't showing up this weekend, but man, it's still spicy. Don't want to see it. All right. Yeah, after those two, we are going to drop down into Blood Angels. They did have 2 X and 1s and an event win out of their 11 players. Doing decent. They also had a couple players playing Angelic Inheritors who only were able to do 42% on their win rate compared to Liberator Assault groups, but they still got an X and 1. So decent showing. Still just not getting played by a lot of the top Marine players, which definitely hurts their percentage.
Sure, absolutely. Necrons are next. They still have quite a few players playing the faction as a whole with 23, but definitely have seen a little bit of a drop-off in performance. I have heard grumblings and rumors about this super incredible, unkillable warrior block that just won't die. I've been told that it is very, very good. I can't wait to see it on the board. But as a whole, they are definitely suffering from a lot of good armies being out there, and it stands out. But overall, the army is okay. They'll probably see some kind of a either points drop or a couple of rules changes just to get them back up. But 46% is perfectly fine. That is within the acceptable window of performance.
Yep. Yeah, still doing good. We'll get some more numbers hopefully in the coming weeks when it's not a holiday weekend. Things will have better representation. This data will be a little bit back to normal, but it's still very interesting to see and good data to review. Up next was CSM at 45% overall. Creations of Bile had the most with 7 players playing it out of the 23. Still got 2 X and 1s. Very strong. We talked to John about it. Chaos Cult, one of their 2 players went X and 1 as well. Everything else, Soulforged Warpack had 2 players who took it to 56% win overall. And then Veterans of the Long War, 38%. Renegade Raiders, 35%. Packbound, 18%. Not a ton of players on most of these. Renegade with 5 out of the 23, still a decent representation. They don't have generally the strength Bile does right now. They're still not bad attachments. It's just a little harder, I think, in the current meta. And most people, I don't know. I feel like Renegade Raiders was really good and really strong, and everybody just realized, I just don't stand on objectives anymore with my good stuff, and your rule doesn't mean as much. But maybe that's just me.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. All right, now it's Death Guard's time, right at the very bottom of acceptable. Plague Company and Flyblown Host, both finding an X and 0, X and 1, 17 players playing them. I guarantee you we will see this number go up just because we're going to have a new codex. We're going to be prepared. People are going to play this again because they want to get back and familiar with how Death Guard plays. Plague Company is very good. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. It can be one of the best attachments in the game. It is an army that a lot of people don't want to see. It's very good in teams. I would have no problem running it in singles. I like it a lot. So overall, very, very good. I'm not upset with the detachment at all. Doesn't need anything right now for me. I'm just excited for a new codex.
Yeah, it'll be. Oof. I don't even want to think about where that win rate's going to be at. Well, I mean, we'll see where points are, but I'm not ready for that codex to drop. But we'll save that for another video. Space Marines coming in 45%, barely in the acceptable. Stormlance, 1 player took it to 67%. They won 2/3 of their games. Decent. Gladius Task Force 51, Vanguard 50, Ironstorm Spearhead only 33, Firestorm 27, and Librarius Conclave only with a 20%. Not a ton of data here as far as number of players. Gladius with 13 out of their 24, making up over half of the faction representation. Gladius is just generally a decent way to play the game if you're a Space Marine player. Yeah, can never complain. Yeah. Good old Gladius.
Nope. As we talked about when we discussed all the Space Marine detachments, it's just good. It's just good at everything, and you don't necessarily miss out on it. But now, since we're out of the acceptable range of what's good, according to the statistics for this week, Astra Militarum, 44%. Only explanation is they're trash. But they did get 2 event wins, and they also got multiple X and O X and 1s with Mechanized and Siege and Combined and Hammer of the Emperor. That is 4 detachments that supposedly performed well, but you are at a 44% win rate. Lane, obviously we need to buff something in Astra Militarum. We need some points,
and it's the players. No, it's just a skill issue, I guess, man. I guess it really is. I mean, this is as good of representation. 1/5 of the players that played this weekend took it to X and 1 or better. Out of 25 players, 5 were able to do it, and we did it with all of our detachments. Like, it is possible. It's just right now, I don't know. We're just, as a whole, we're just not doing it as guard players. We gotta start repping it out a little more. But we'll see. It's great to see that there's still strength in all detachments. Yeah. Hopefully this next weekend, who knows? Me and Andre will do some work, do our best. Up next, we got Sisters of Battle, 44% overall. Hallowed Martyrs had 7 of their 11 players and had 55% wins. No X and 1s or event wins for any of their faction or for any of their detachments. Pendant Hosts, only 1 player, 33%. Army of Faith, 3 players, 24% win rate. It still hasn't got enough love. We thought after that balanced data slate, it seemed like, getting some of those dice back and stuff were going to help. They've had some decent showings, but just in general, they're not popping up a ton.
Yeah, and I do feel for them because Sisters, we would like to see them a little bit higher up, but maybe after the next data slate, or maybe just after we have a lull this weekend, right? Maybe after the bunch of the Americans, when we come back from Easter egg hunting and gathering up chocolate and doing all those things, they'll be ready to go to take the Sisters out and try to get some X and O, X and 1s. But the last 2 are completely different armies. One is Cast Knights. This is just like Imperial Knights. They are still good. You still have to be prepared for 13 dogs or less dogs with demons. Like, it is a good army. It is a good stat check. It is a problem for a lot of people, and it will get event wins, and it will get event X and O, X and 1s. And then there's Imperial Agents, and they have gotten no love. They are not in a great place. They are not able to be successful, and they need some significant help and some kind of way to play the game differently, better than what else is out there, because otherwise people are just going to run other things, right? Like, they don't do anything better than Death Watch does, or Space Marines do, or Astra Militarum does. So what are they going to do that's going to separate themselves as a faction to actually get them into a place where they're playable? So 2 completely different factions, both did not perform well this weekend.
Yeah, but at least Chaos Knights have 19 players compared to the 1, so correct. I guess a moral victory there. People are still playing you. Yeah, Chaos Knights, it's a stat check army. It'll bounce back. It'll generally, over most weekends, it'll balance out. It'll be above 45% on the average. So at least. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any big takeaways after kind of reading through some more of those gritty statistics?
Grey Knights being up there is nice to see. I like Grey Knights as a faction. The new NDK looks cool with his giant, like, swinging chain, whatever it is. I think it looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
I know Grey Knights players would like more models, wouldn't we all? I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, man, they could have done so many cool things with like Death Guard and given us so many cool models, but I get another character, which I have an obnoxious amount of. Like, I have too many characters.
Never enough.
Death Guard. I would love something a little different, but maybe my new demon detachment is going to give me access to a few demons that I usually don't normally run. Usually I just have a couple Nurglings in the list, and that's pretty much it. But if you're telling me that there's a list where maybe a Great Unclean one is pretty good, you could tempt me to run something else. So I am looking forward to it, but Grey Knights being good and being up there just tells me that the health of the meta is getting better, especially because Mordaka is gone.
Yeah, it's super interesting. It was a little bit lower on the player count and event count this weekend due to the holidays, but still some very, very curious and good information coming out of those tournaments. Great to see it. Love seeing some of these things that have been struggling really pop off this week. And, some of these other things that have been doing well didn't perform so hot. So anything can happen when you go to tournaments, I guess, It's a way to look at it.
Well, good players can play armies and play them well. So, yeah, for sure. All right. I think that's pretty much it, Lane. We crushed through this mind over meta. So we're getting prepared. That's what it is for our tournament this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. I'm going to be real curious to see how the stats on that specific event alone play out, because that is a Shark Tank of an RTT with a 50-player RTT. I don't know if we've seen that much spice in an RTT before, and man, it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a fun one, and we can't wait to share it with you guys. Hopefully do a little updating as we go and stuff, but it'll be good. Hopefully come down early, finally get to play Phil for the first time ever, maybe on Saturday, so that'll be interesting, and yeah, should be a great time. Can't wait to update you guys.
Watch us play on Saturday and then get paired round 1 on Sunday. I'm calling it right now. If you and I play Saturday, we're paired round 1 Sunday, almost guaranteed.
Well, then we'll have to play, best of 3 when we play, the next time.
Absolutely.
But all right, that'll be it for us today here on Mind Over Meta on Master Crafted. This is Lane and Phil. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and do not forget, victory isn't given, it's forged, and it's forged right here on Master Crafted. We'll see y'all next time.